This is an ulu tree, otherwise known as breadfruit. It's an amazing staple crop and it grows on a tree, which means we don't have to till the ground, we don't have to cause erosion every time we want to harvest and grow a staple crop, right? It grows year after year for a very long time. What I want to tell you guys today is how you can be responsible for planting hundreds of trees without owning any land or without having access to any land in 2 easy steps. First, I gotta sell you on this, okay, right? So trees have an amazing way of sequestering the carbons in the atmosphere. We know that that's important because the carbons in the atmosphere are growing in number every year, and whether or not you believe that that changes the climate, it's actually measurable that the carbons are increasing, right? So trees have a way of balancing that out by sequestering carbon from the atmosphere. Actually, the trees themselves are made up of mostly atmosphere. I used to think that they were made up of mostly elements in the soil. That's not the case, apparently. I'm not a scientist, but what the scientists say is that they are mostly atmosphere, which is really cool. And the fruit itself is maybe more so a product of what goes on in the soil as far as the photosynthesis down into the root systems and the sugars and everything. So trees are great. They're soil building rather than soil depleting. When you buy staple crops that are annuals, you're supporting the continual tillage and breakdowns of the soils, and they are not sequestering any carbon at all because every year they are destroyed and tilled back in again. Okay, so we obviously we can support the growth of trees through buying fruit and stuff like that, but you can only eat so much fruit, right? You eat a ton of staple crops. Your staples, your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins, okay? So find out the trees that are growing from that. In 2 steps, how do you plant hundreds of trees? You purchase the staple crop from a tree, and then you eat it and make yummy food from it, and you eat it, okay? And that supports more trees being planted. It's very simple. It might be a little expensive at first because they're not in as high as quantity, but over time it will get cheaper and cheaper to buy staple crops from trees because it is actually less labor, less mechanisms to harvest and to plant and to till and everything else. Once it's established, it's an established system, but we need to support the planting of it, which is the initial cost. So buy staple crops from trees. If you live in a temperate climate, these aren't going to be available, but things like chestnuts, which are actually more starches than they are fats. A lot of nuts are more fats. Chestnuts are more starches, right? So that is a staple crop. Avocados are a fat that we could definitely use more of, and a protein, so that's a good one. There's all kinds. In our climate, breadfruit, ulu is a really good one. Jackfruit's another good one. There's a bunch of them. So find out what grows in your area, what staple crop that grows on a tree in your area, and eat lots of that. Buy lots of that, eat lots of that if you can't plant it yourself, okay?